There are versions of myself I've buried. There are versions of myself in which I've completely ignored. And there are also versions of myself that I've tried to forget about. There were many times where I feared that slowing down meant that I would fall behind in life. I would fall behind in my goals. I would fall behind in the dreams that I've always thought of. That should not be the case. I always burned myself out because I would push too hard in a specific task, and I would get so demotivated because when I kept pushing through, I never saw any results. How is that going to help in any way if I don't slow down a little bit to recover a little bit? If I don't recover, how will I regain the stamina to push through what I want to do? It's okay to take a break. It's okay to slow down the process, because slow motion is better than no motion. But you have to understand that if you're putting in so much effort into something and you're burning out, you're essentially getting nowhere. Whenever I achieved some sort of goal or some sort of task that I had in mind, this emptiness did nothing but consume the entire version that I thought would complete me. This gave me the belief that I was only motivated for these goals and I wasn't disciplined to catch them. I had so much that I wanted to do. Motivation was the reason as to why I was trying to achieve them. Motivation is a feeling, whereas discipline is a state of mind. If motivation was like a firework, it would go up and burst up into flames. It would make a beautiful scene. Discipline would be like a compass. It points you to the correct direction, but essentially it's uneventful. It works consistently to get you where you want to be in life. Nothing will change if nothing you do will change. Discipline will always, always, always pay off in the end. No matter what you want to do in life, if you have discipline, it's going to teach you something eventually. The second version I would like to write to is the version of myself where I was losing friends and I felt abandoned. You see, there was always an ache whenever I lost people and I didn't get the closure that I wanted, but I thought I needed. There's a difference between getting closure that you think you need versus just getting closure because you want it. Most of the times, whenever I got closure, it was because I gave it to myself. The other person never gave me closure. I just accepted that it was ending, that the friendship was ending, and I moved on with my life. Because I learned, slowly, that people leave whenever they want. People are going to be in your life whenever they want. They're going to stay in your life for however long they want. And when you don't serve them anymore, when they don't serve you, something is going to shift. A change in energy is going to happen for you, for them, for everyone overall. People will leave and enter your life as they want to. That is something that I learned in a very difficult manner. It took me so long to learn that as an individual. And for me to actually apply it to life, it took even longer because I didn't start applying that sense until years after this sort of thing happened to my life, to where I lost friends and I just did not give myself the closure that I actually needed, because the closure that I actually needed was from myself. I would always mistake abandonment for unworthiness. I always thought that just because someone abandoned me or left me to not be my friend anymore, I always thought that I wasn't worth their time. I wasn't worth having that friendship. That's not the case at all. That is not the case at all. Having that abandonment proved that I didn't need them in the first place because I was just fine without them. And I can continue to be just fine without them after they were in my life. That goes into the thought that I didn't lose them at all in the first place. I simply just outgrew them. We outgrew each other. That's how some friendships end. Just because someone grows apart from each other doesn't mean that it was necessarily a bad ending. Maybe that's all the closure that I needed. Maybe that's all the closure that they needed. All they needed was to outgrow me. All I needed was to outgrow them. They were in my life, they served a purpose to spend time together, and essentially, we outgrew each other. There's no problem with that. Their absence wasn't a punishment. It was just time for me to heal from that and grow from that situation that I was put in. I simply just outgrew the environment that I was put in. If you put a plant in a pot and it grows and grows, the pot is gonna make it stay that same size. It's not gonna grow unless you change the environment that it's in, unless you change the surroundings that you put the plant in. It's not gonna flourish at all. That version of myself led me to talk to the lonely version of myself, the version of myself where I felt emotionally invisible, the version of myself where I felt unseen even in crowded rooms. I felt like no one could hear or even see me in a room full of people. It led me to believe that I had to perform and I had to have strength while quietly dealing with what I went through. It led me to believe that I had no one around me, not even my family, to support me and put me into the place that I needed to be as an individual. It led me to believe that just because people leave and people might abandon you, let's say, that I don't deserve to be strong enough to persist through my life and persist through the goals that I wanted in mind. I had an ache that I was a strong individual that no one checked up on. As I grew, I realized that no one needed to check up on me in the first place. Why did I feel the need that people should check up on me and see how I was doing? I felt that need because the silence after I was vulnerable of losing that person or losing friends wasn't met with the care that I thought that I needed. But essentially, I needed to show myself the care. I needed to give myself what I needed, because when I didn't do that, I felt like I needed it from other people. My source of care and my source of compassion wasn't from inside. And I gave that responsibility to other people in my life. No amount of individual was needed. There were no more people that was needed in my life. It was just presence. Presence was needed much more, even from myself. I wasn't present with what I was going through. I didn't feel present to be able to work on what I went through and the loneliness that I experienced. It all ties together, because if you think about the motivation versus the discipline that I've talked about, the burnout that I've experienced, the loss of friends, the loneliness that I've all felt, this version of myself where I felt all of these things at once is one version. The version that didn't try to better myself for myself. The version that tried to show off to other people instead of myself that I can do it. The version that didn't compete with myself to better myself. The version that competed with others. The version that depended on other people to better myself, to feel less lonely, to feel love, to feel compassion. That version is the version I'm talking to today. I'm not talking to many versions. I'm writing this letter to the version of myself that needed all these things and that didn't do all these things. It gets easier with time. Discipline always pays off in the end. You don't see the results, but it can pay off in every aspect of your life, even the aspects that feel lonely. The more you show compassion to yourself every day, the more you'll understand that you don't need it from anyone in your life. Because if you don't give it to yourself, everyone else's will feel so much easier to accept. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be coming back with weekly videos, 2 to 3 videos per week. This is just the start of such a great empire that I'll eventually build one day or another. It takes discipline, And that's what I'll put towards this YouTube channel. I hope you guys enjoy. Smash the subscribe button. Smash the like button. Thank you guys for watching up until this point. Goodbye.